Welcome in to another weekly show of KneckUp Live. We're here to talk about the weekly roundup of high school football. I am your host, WillRob, alongside my main man. Well, he's
RobWill.
He's over there. What's his name?
RobWill, WillRob.
RobWill, WillRob. The WillRob.
My main man.
Will Show. So welcome in. I want to start things off a little bit. We're going to get to some game results from last week. But first off, Will, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being on here full time with me. I just wasn't feeling it without you. But I want to ask you, with the way you're dressed, what have you been doing? What were you doing from like 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock today?
Well, my main man, I'm a chef, and I pride myself on cooking for the people of our region. And on Wednesdays, I partner with my employer, Matt Keeney, in Keeney's Kitchen, who is a meal prep company. I decided he'd let me use my culinary expertise to do Wednesday family meals. So on Wednesdays, we do hot family meals, call in, ready to pick up, some cases delivery from 4 to 6 at Keeney's Kitchen out in Lucasville, Ohio.
Fantastic. So, man, you're a busy man, I know, and I really appreciate you giving your time to this. As we're all busy, but we all want to give some time back to not only the kids out there who are playing, but just to everybody involved in sports and everything. So the reason we're able to bring this broadcast to you is because of this book right here. The authors, you might be able to see those right there, Gene Collins and Jeff Ramey.
Whoa.
Athlete's Mental Performance Journal, www.checkupneckup.com. That's NeckUp with a K. The K is for the knowledge that they will bring you. And this is not just a book you read, it's a book you do, a book you fill out. That's why it's called a journal. So it's kind of a guide for, a young athlete or any athlete of any age to help improve their mental performance in the game, because as John Madden used to say, half the game or 50% of the game is half mental. So if you work on the mental part of it, you're probably going to have an edge on everybody else. Wouldn't you agree, Will?
I agree, man. Hey, that's a unique thing there that Coach Collins and Coach Ramey came up with. I've never seen that before, and I've heard that athletes all around are catching wind of it and applying the journals and the applications in there to real life, practical application. And I've heard there's some amazing results.
Absolutely, I have too. And if you have questions about it, just go to checkupneckup.com. Again, NeckUp with a K. You can order the book. It's on Amazon. The easiest way to get to it is right there on checkupneckup.com. It'll take you directly to the link to buy the book. It's not expensive, but it will give you an edge in your performance over those who are not using it. It will put you into a routine and help you understand more about yourself and your performance and how it's affected by your mental state during a game and during practice and during the week and during school. All that is involved. So it's just a good thing. It takes a few minutes out of each day to work on it. So I recommend it for everyone. But right now, let's get into our week 2 games. So we had some games last week on Friday night, right? So let's talk about those results. We had East traveling to Alexander last week. East, unfortunately, not able to score in that game. They lost to Alexander 21-0. And I am representing East this week, but we'll get into more of that later.
Yes.
And then we had West traveling over a long way over the Scioto River there to Portsmouth. And West went down in defeat big time, it looks like, 41-7. Will,
yes.
You were at that game, right?
I sure did. I called that game, my main man, and it was a doozy.
I bet it was a lot of fun there at the Coliseum.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it was a blast, man. The Trojans were on fire, and they whipped out an arsenal, my main man. When I tell you the days of calling them one-dimensional were far out the window, there was a lot of passes in the air, a lot of screens, a lot of running behind the big line and showing just what kind of line we had. And once again, the defense kept the opposing team to a single touchdown. Let's go.
It sounds like the Trojan offense is definitely on the attack mode this year. So I
Yes.
like to hear that. So they're 2-0 right now, and they are knocking on the door of 3-0. And we'll get into next week's game in just a moment. But this week we also had Oak Hill at Fairfield Christian Academy. That game actually went into overtime. Oak Hill was able to get the win 35-28. So congratulations to Oak Hill Oaks. And Notre Dame took on Adena. That was a home game for Notre Dame. Adena came down and took care of Notre Dame 28-8. Notre Dame is a Division 5 school. They're taking on a Division 7 school there. So a little bit imbalanced, but Notre Dame not able to keep it close. The big game of the week last week was Jackson-Ironton. Ironton totally took care of business in the second half. You know, I checked the score mid-second quarter. It was a close game still. I looked at it at the end of the game, and it's 51-14 Ironton. So just like the week before at Wheelersburg, they really got rolling late and pulled away and just poured it on the opponent. And so Ironton, obviously right now, probably the big dog in the area, but there's a couple of other undefeated teams too.
Yes.
So we'll get into those standings in just a moment. But so Wheelersburg, a big game after the rebound game, you know, they lost big to Ironton in week 1. So they traveled to Archbishop McNicholas on Friday to take on a Division 3 school. So back-to-back big teams, although Wheelersburg had defeated Archbishop McNicholas 2 times in a row. This time not able to get it done as they were ready. McNicholas 34, Wheelersburg 3. And just didn't appear that Wheelersburg could get anything done offensively, obviously. Some turnovers hurt them, some penalties hurt them, but overall, you just got to hand it to Archbishop McNicholas. In that case, they had a better team, they had a better plan. They executed better, and they played harder and better on that night. So, you know, hats off to Archbishop McNicholas. Wheelersburg starts off 0-2, so we'll see where they go.
We've seen them here before. They bounce back pretty well.
They do, and you know, Coach Woodward is pretty even, so he's not going to get in panic mode. You're not going to see that from him. He's going to keep it steady, rock steady from day one to, you know, a state championship if he's fortunate enough to make it there. But that guy steady as can be. So I look for Wheelersburg to come out and fight.
I do too.
Week. And so last week we also had Green hosting Grove City Christian Academy, and Grove City Christian obviously brought down quite a squad to the Bobcat Stadium there as they defeated Green 45-0. Waverly over Zane Trace 28-7, so that game was at Zane Trace. Waverly with the win on the road there to move to 2-0. Then Memphord at Chesapeake. No, excuse me, this game was at Memphord. And Chesapeake comes away with the win over Memphord, 42 to Goose Egg. 42-0 on Falcon turf.
Whoa.
Ouch. And we had Rock Hill and Sims Valley. Rock Hill come away with the big win, 35-6 over Sims Valley. Northwest and McLean got into an overtime battle, so we had 2 overtime battles this week. And Northwest gets the win 19-13 in OT. So big ups to Northwest there, big win. And Piketon falls at Wellston 34-27. And then Valley 16, Coalgrove 30. So Valley falls to Coalgrove there for week 2. And that sums up all of our week 2 results for the teams that we cover in our region. And Will, after 2 games, we kind of have some standings now. We can kind of look through those. Later on in the season, we'll be looking at playoff standings and points. But for now, tell us what the records are, Will.
Okay, so these records can be determined as you will. I think that with the teams being undefeated, the top 4 teams, Rock Hill, Ironton, Portsmouth, and Waverly, you could have a consensus that everyone's undefeated. I mean, everybody knows that Ironton is the team to beat, but the other teams are undefeated, and until they are beaten, they are right up there with a chance to be number 1 in their division. Ironton, as we know, is standalone. So Waverly's 2-0, Portsmouth is 2-0, Ironton's 2-0, and Rock Hill are 2-0. The teams with a single win would be Green 1-1, Jackson 1-1, Oak Hill's 1-1, and Northwest is 1-1, along with Piketon and Notre Dame. And the teams yet to get a win, but it's still early in the season, and that's Berg at 0-2, West at 0-2, East at 0-2, Valley at 0-2, and Minford at 0-2. My main man, it is congested, but it's only 2 games in.
It's pretty balanced there. You got 4 teams with 2-0 records, 5 teams with 0-2 records, and everybody else kind of falls in the middle. But I hate to see both of my teams, the East Tartans and Berg Pirates, both at the very, very bottom there. So hopefully those guys can pull it around this week, and we'll get into this week's games right now, because we can throw those last weeks away, right? Just like the coaches have, because it's a whole new week. We've got whole new games. So
yes.
This week, Green will be taking on Manchester. That game is at Manchester. Manchester is 1-1. East will be hosting Miller. Miller is 1-1, and I am picking East in this game. East lost last year at Miller 27-20. I think East is going to turn that around this year and get the win, but I got it 20-14 East. That's my pick in that game. Notre Dame versus Fisher Catholic. Fisher Catholic is 1-1. Waverly versus Unioto. Unioto's 1-1. Jackson at Wheelersburg. Obviously, that's a huge game for both teams. Huge game for both teams. So Wheelersburg, 3rd week in a row, taking on a real powerhouse.
My goodness.
And somebody's going to come away disappointed in that one. Wheelersburg hopes they can come away with some kind of quality win to start the season to get out of the losers bracket. They do not want to start 0-3. I know they don't want to start 0-3, but Jackson is big. Jackson is fast. Jackson is strong. So, anything can happen in that game. And that's going to be a game to watch.
Who made Wheelersburg's schedule?
Wow. I know. So Ironton is at Cabell Midland this week, and this is a neutral site game. So I'm assuming they're going to play at Marshall Stadium. I think they've done that in the past, maybe last year. So that game is a neutral site game, big game. Cabell Midland, it'll be their first game of the year. Ironton obviously has, dog walked a couple teams early this year already. So I don't know what's going to happen in that one. Cabell Midland's a big school. They got some big kids, but I think Ironton's probably going to handle that one just fine, honestly. And then we got Portsmouth at Greenup, and Will, I'm picking this one as my game of the week because Greenup is 2-0 and Portsmouth is 2-0. Now we don't cover Greenup as one of our regional Ohio teams here because they're not in Ohio, but they're 2-0 and they are neighbors right across the river. I don't know. Is there any kind of rivalry there with Greenup?
Well,
is it a regular matchup?
It's funny you should say that. It's funny you should ask, because last year, if there wasn't a rival, it was the perfect recipe for a birth of a rival, as the game ended at the very end with Greenup getting a last-second victory in a game that Portsmouth surely had in its grasp. And Portsmouth felt that pain from that chance, that cups of victory, and I'm quite sure they're salivating, waiting for the chance to get across that bridge and bring it home from the Musketeers.
So they do have to travel over. They have their passports ready. I assume Coach has their passports ready. They got to travel over the bridge to Kentucky.
And remember, Kentucky games start at 7:30.
7:30 games, so you get a little bit longer time to get to the game.
Yes.
And remember to tune in to WillRob's podcast at 7:30 as well. You'll
correct,
be there, correct?
Yes, correct,
That's right. So moving on, we have Minford at Wellston. Wellston's 2-0 this year. Minford, not so good, 0-2. So Minford would like to get one on the road there at Wellston at Rockets, but that's going to be an uphill climb for them. Oak Hill at Rock Hill. So the Battle of the Hills, or Battle for the Hill, whatever you want to call it, but they are playing at Rock Hill. And then West at Hillsboro. So we don't see Hillsboro pop up on the schedules very often. Don't know a lot about them, but they are 1-1. and West will be traveling up. That will be right up around 125, probably then hit 41 over to 124, maybe something like that, maybe 73. I don't know. But
yeah,
anyway,
124 is correct.
Okay, but they'll be in Hillsboro for that game. And then Northwest is at Huntington Ross. Huntington Ross 1-1 on the season. And then the final coverage game that we have for this week is Valley at Piketon. We've covered their records already. Not good for those guys. So one of those guys would love to get in the winning column. And Will, that's all I have for this week. Anything you want to add?
I just want to thank you for having me, man. And that journal, let me tell you something, my main man. In the years of the NIL, that is a perfect thing for athletes to have, to be able to try to help assess themselves in this crazy world where it's a get you, grab at you.
Absolutely, it is. It is. It will keep you grounded, help you make good common sense decisions, and will keep you on top of your game and make you better on game day. If you just do the book a few minutes a day, that's all it takes. So I encourage everybody to check out KneckUp.com. Be sure to check out Jeff and Gene's podcast. They have some great guests on there. Malk from Virginia softball was an amazing guest. So be sure to tune in to each of those. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you give us, a like and subscribe, like they say. That does help with the algorithms and helps us share our story with more people. It will help Jeff and Gene share their vision with more people as well. If you are a school administrator, if you are a student at a school and you want to get your school involved, you can always reach out. Just go to the contact us on checkupneckup.com. Those guys would love to talk to you about how they can implement the program at your organization. This book is turnkey. You can buy it and use it, but you can also, involve the authors in speeches, in seminars. They'll come talk to your school, come talk to your team. There's a lot of other benefits when you're in the family of NeckUp Checkup. So that's it for tonight. Will, thank you again for your time. I know you're a busy man. Everybody is. So thanks everybody for listening, watching, however you tune in. We appreciate it. Peace out.
Peace out.